Okay, let's just dive right into this because we have a lot of crucial ground to cover today. Welcome to the ultimate masterclass on a topic that literally makes or breaks your final grade. I am not exaggerating here. Mastering the double entry system and the accounting equation is absolutely essential for your Cambridge Accounting AS and A-Level 9706 success. Now, you might be wondering, why are we focusing so heavily on this specific area? Well, it's simple, because this specific topic appears in every single examination series. Every single one. There's no hiding from it, you cannot skip it, you cannot just lightly skim it and hope for the best, and you certainly can't rely on guesswork. Today, we are stepping into the digital studio, and I'll be acting as your master coach. We are going to deconstruct exactly what top examiners are actively looking for when they grade your papers. We're going to look straight through the examiner's lens, tear apart the syllabus objectives piece by piece, and completely rebuild your exam strategy from the ground up. If you've ever walked out of an exam hall feeling like you totally knew the material, but then you got your results and just didn't get the marks you felt you deserved, this explainer is exactly what you need. We're going to fix that disconnect right now. And that brings us to a really critical question. Seriously, think about this. Why do students consistently lose marks on a topic they absolutely know is going to be on the paper? It's kind of baffling, right? To understand this, we really need to start treating this exam like a high-stakes game. Points are not just magically handed out to you simply because you managed to memorize a textbook definition the night before. Points are won through strategy. They are won through precision, and most importantly, through a connected, conceptual understanding of the mechanics. The Cambridge syllabus explicitly emphasizes that top-performing candidates exhibit an understanding that is transferable to entirely unfamiliar contexts. If you are out there just memorizing T accounts without actually understanding the underlying mechanics of how assets, liabilities, and capital interact in real-world business scenarios, the examiners are going to set traps, and I promise you, you will fall right into them. They design questions specifically to catch out the memorizers. We are here today to make absolutely sure that doesn't happen to you. So, here is our blueprint framework for this masterclass. Number 1, core principles. Number 2, command word anatomy. Number 3, the procedural methodology. Number 4, critical analysis. And finally, number 5, we'll expose the top examiner traps. Okay, let's look at the exact academic benchmarks Cambridge uses. They break everything down into 3 distinct cognitive assessment domains. Number 1 is knowledge and understanding. Think of this as your absolute baseline foundation. This is just knowing the basic rules of double entry. But you can't stop there. Number 2 is analysis. This is where things get interesting. This is where you logically structure your reasoning and extract meaningful relationships from a giant wall of financial data. And then we have number 3, evaluation. This is the absolute top tier, the holy grail of exam marks. Successful candidates absolutely must demonstrate competence across all 3 of these domains. The entire assessment framework prioritizes analytical depth over superficial breadth. What does that mean for you? It means showing the examiner that you deeply, truly understand the why behind one highly complex transaction is worth far more points than just superficially name-dropping 10 different basic transactions. They want depth, not just a shallow list. So to get that depth, the absolute most crucial point is understanding the actual language of the exam itself. Let's look at the anatomy of command words on a typical high-tariff question. Those big 9 to 15 mark questions that completely change your grade. Notice the deep contrast here on the screen. The word analyze requires you to break down the information. You're showing exactly how a series of transactions impacts the accounting equation. But evaluate, that is a completely different beast. Evaluate requires you to step back and make a judgment. You literally have to look at the data you just analyzed and determine the financial health of the business, and you have to justify your decisions with concrete, undeniable evidence. The exact same rule applies when we look at explain versus to what extent. Explain is just asking for the how and the why, but to what extent? That introduces hidden constraints. It absolutely mandates that you look at both sides of an argument before you draw a conclusion. For instance, if a prompt asks, to what extent is the double entry system useful for this business, you cannot just list all its wonderful benefits. You must also discuss its limitations. If you don't provide that balanced view, you are throwing away massive points. Act 2, deconstructing the methodology debate. To really grasp how these marking bands work in practice, let's imagine a split-screen study of 2 hypothetical scholars. We'll call them Alex and Sam. Now picture them in a collaborative digital suite working on the exact same high-tariff question. On the left side, we have Alex's approach. Alex is a highly technical student. He excels at the factual method. He just wants to plug the numbers into the accounting equation, balance the books perfectly, and stop right there. And sure, his math is perfectly accurate, but here's the catch. That purely factual approach only unlocks the lower-tier marking bands for knowledge and understanding. It's just A01. Now look at the right side. Here we have Sam. Sam advocates for a much broader conceptual argument. When Sam solves the exact same double entry problem, she doesn't just record the debit and the credit and move on. She takes the time to write a sharp, analytical sentence explaining exactly why that specific transaction altered the firm's liquidity or its equity structure. This debate between Alex and Sam, that represents the exact internal monologue you need to be having in the exam hall. Alex's method is going to get you partial credit, sure, but Sam's conceptual depth is the key that actually unlocks the analysis and evaluation bands, the AO2 and AO3 marks. To achieve the top grade, you literally need the factual mathematical accuracy of Alex combined seamlessly with the conceptual, big-picture arguments of Sam.
So how do we actually bridge the gap between Alex's factual approach and Sam's conceptual approach? We need a highly standardized sequence for systemic processing. I like to call this the method mark strategy. Listen, examiners will actually award you marks for your procedural process, even if your final arithmetic is slightly off. Think about how huge that is. So here's the sequence. Step 1, identify the key elements hidden in the complex text. Step 2, apply the relevant principles of the accounting equation. Step 3, execute your analysis with crystal clear working out. Never hide your math. Step 4, verify the results. And Step 5, present everything in the appropriate standardized format. If you force yourself to follow this exact sequence every single time, you are actively communicating to the examiner that you possess a logical, highly structured reasoning process. That practically guarantees you will pick up every single possible method mark along the way, padding your score even if you drop a 0 at the very end.
Now, as our hypothetical scholars Alex and Sam push forward through their practice problem, they inevitably hit a massive wall when the prompt asks them to evaluate. Students hate this word, but here is the definitive definition of critical evaluation that you absolutely must internalize right now. It is the ability to question assumptions, consider different perspectives, and justify decisions with concrete evidence. True evaluation requires you to move far, far beyond the basic numbers on the page. For example, if you are looking at a ledger, don't just write a sentence telling the examiner that the bank balance increased. They know that. They have the marking scheme. You need to question it. Was this increase actually due to sustainable long-term sales growth, or did the business just temporarily boost cash by selling off a critically important non-current asset? Considering those different perspectives and then proving your theory with hard evidence extracted from the provided text, that is the absolute hallmark of a top-tier A-star candidate. And this critical evaluation concept feeds directly into our next core requirement, comparative analysis. When an exam question asks you to compare two different accounting methods, or maybe two different financial years, true comparative analysis absolutely mandates that you identify both the similarities and the differences. You can't just do one or the other. And here's a pro tip. You must use comparative connectives, words like whereas, conversely, or similarly. These words are literally like flashing neon signposts for the examiner. They show the person grading your paper that you're actively weighing the data, not just summarizing it. You have to support every single comparison with evidence pulled straight from the data table and then draw concrete conclusions about their relative importance to the business. Okay, hold that thought. Before we look at how to actually piece this together on the page and tackle the hardest part of the problem, I need you to do something for me. If this breakdown is already changing how you look at exam questions, you need to hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels right now. The handle is @acetheexam_IGCSE. Make sure you click that little notification bell and turn on all notifications. We drop weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategies just like this one, completely decoding the syllabus so you can walk into that exam hall with absolute confidence. You do not want to miss out on these examiner secrets. So subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's get back to the masterclass.
Act 3, Hitting the Roadblocks, Application and Presentation.
All right, let's jump back in and look at a major roadblock. Strict presentation conventions. Let's picture our scholars Alex and Sam actively drafting a model response paragraph by paragraph on their shared screen. Suddenly, they just hit a wall. They are stuck on timing and formatting constraints. On the left side of your screen, look at this flawed, completely unannotated student response. It says the business bought a van, so assets go up and money goes down. Wow. Okay, it's incredibly vague, it totally lacks proper headings, and there is zero working out shown. It's a disaster. Now let's pause their session, step in, and apply a cognitive strategy to get them unstuck. We're going to rewrite this out loud. Look at the right side. The purchase of the delivery vehicle for $10,000 results in a dual effect on the accounting equation. Non-current assets increase by $10,000, while current assets, specifically the bank, decrease by $10,000. Perfectly maintaining the equation's balance.
Do you see the massive difference there? The presentation of your information must follow strict conventions. You need proper headings, correct academic terminology, appropriate formatting, and clear annotations. The flawless response isn't just accurate, it is highly specific to the context of the prompt, and it fundamentally proves the underlying principle of double entry. Act 4. Interactive Pause and Practice Visual Workshop.
Okay, I am going to put you directly in the hot seat right now. This is where we actually test your ability to extract and interpret complex relationships under intense pressure. You are looking at a highly complex financial data extract, representing a messy double-entry system scenario. Imagine a 60-second visual countdown timer ticking down on the screen right now. Tick, tock. If you really only had 1 minute, your data interpretation skills would be absolutely critical. You need to rapidly extract the correct figures from this tangled table, interpret the hidden relationships between the changing inventory levels and the trade payables, and draw a solid evidence-based conclusion. If you just sit there and stare blankly at the numbers, you are going to freeze up and lose the marks. You have to train your brain to actively scan for the dual effect. Remember the golden rule. Every single change you see in this table has an equal and opposite reaction somewhere else in the ledger. Your job is to systematically find it. All right, let's shift gears for scene 2 of our workshop. This is a game called Spot the Flaw. I'm about to reveal a very common student answer, and I'll tell you right now, there are exactly 3 massive grade-destroying errors hidden within it. 3 specific traps that thousands of students fall into year after year. Let's see if you can spot them. Okay, time's up. Let's systematically dissect these errors together, and I'm pulling these straight from the actual Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. Trap number 1. The student's answer on the double entry system is just way too vague. Listen to me. Examiners absolutely despise generalities. They want granular, specific details. Do not just write capital changed and expect a mark. You must specify exactly how and why. Was it due to owner drawings? Was it a net loss for the year? Or was it an injection of brand new capital? Be specific. Trap number 2, a complete failure to check format and presentation. Accounting is a professional discipline. Practical application develops professional skills. If you do not use the universally accepted accounting formats, you lose marks, period. It's that simple. And finally, trap number 3, and this is a big one. The response completely lacks specific business context. If the exam question is specifically about a heavy manufacturing business, your written answer absolutely must reference their machinery, their raw materials, their work-in-progress inventory. If you just talk about generic retail goods off a shelf, you fail the context objective. You must always tether your theoretical knowledge to the specific reality of the business described in the prompt. Act 5, Strategy Recap and Final Examiner Alert. So, looking back at our entire session today, our hypothetical scholars Alex and Sam eventually had a massive breakthrough. They realized that relying purely on memorized facts or purely on unstructured floating concepts just leads to failure. It was the procedural framework that completely transformed their methodology. Let's synthesize everything we've dissected today into 3 core memorable pillars for flawless, perfectly time-managed exam execution. Pillar number 1 is the 3-step question scan. Before you write a single word, you must always identify the command word. Isolate the core accounting principle required, and note the highly specific business context. Pillar number 2 is the paragraph balance formula. Every single analytical paragraph you draft must contain a clearly stated fact, the specific double entry application, and the evaluative impact on the overall accounting equation. And pillar number 3 is the last 5 minutes review checklist. You must ruthlessly manage your time to reserve the last 5 minutes. Use it to verify your final results, double-check that your headings are formatted correctly, and ensure your terminology is absolutely dead on. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with this ultimate examiner alert. This is a direct quote pulled straight from a recent Principal Examiner report, and it is absolute gold. It says, candidates consistently confuse key terminology. Always define terms before using them in extended responses. Guys, this is so important. Do not ever assume the examiner knows what you mean or that they'll just give you the benefit of the doubt. They won't. You have to prove it to them. If you are discussing capital expenditure in your essay, define it briefly and clearly before you start explaining how it affects the double entry system. Building this one simple habit practically guarantees that you secure those crucial knowledge and understanding marks before you even dive into your complex analysis. At the end of the day, crushing these Cambridge exams requires consistent, unyielding strategy and ruthless precision. It is not just about balancing the books. It is about proving to the examiner that you speak the language of business fluently. Truly understanding the deep mechanics of these systems is exactly what separates a wildly proficient A-star student from an average one. So I want you to honestly look at your own study habits right now. Are you just memorizing the rules, or are you actually ready to master the system? If you are ready to master it, you need to be part of this community. Hit that subscribe button right now for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O&A levels at @acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our future exam hacks. And before you click away, leave a comment down below with your exact target grade. Put it out there, commit to it, and let's get to work. I'll see you in the next explainer.